Record. Hey, Bez Hashem. We're holding a daf Nun Ches Amid Beis. So that is 58 B3 in the art scroll. We're on the right side on the English page. Amar Rabbi Chanina. Okay, so Amar Rabbi Chanina. Chanina said, Ovid Kechavim Shehika et Yisrael. If a guy hits a Jew, Hayav Mita. He is Hayav Mita. Okay, so that's what Hanina said. That if a guy hits a Jew, he's Hayamita, you can kill him. Now, Hayamita, what does that mean? That he could get killed. So the Rambam, the Maimonides, the Rambam, he says it doesn't mean literally that the Bedin kills him. Rather, it means that in Shamayim they can kill him. It's Mita B'dei Shamayim, death via heaven. It means we're not actually killing him, people on earth, but in Shamayim they'll take him. The Rambam says you can punish him, you can tell him that he deserves death, but you don't actually kill him. On the other hand, the Ran, right, Rabbi Nitzim, he holds it's a real death. That if a guy hits a Jew, and all these cases in the Gemara that's going to say Hayamita for other mitzvot that are not Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach, whenever time the Gemara says Hayamita, it's going to be this machloket, the Rambam and the Ran. The Rambam is going to say it means not literally. We're not actually going to kill him. The Beit is not going to kill him. Rather, it means he's deserving of death, and in Shemaim they'll take care of him. We can punish him. We can tell him that he's deserving of it, but we don't actually kill him. And Gemara says, how do I know this? That it's Hayab Mita. Shnema, because it says, Vayifen kol vacho, Vayad ki en ish, Vayachet haMitzri. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw the Egyptian, the Mitzri hit the Jew, he looked here and there, saw there was no one coming, and he killed the Egyptian, showing that if a guy hits a Jew, it's Hayab Mita. Amar Rabbi Hanina. Rabbi Hanina said, Hasoter lo'o shel Yisrael. If someone slaps the jaw of a Jew, Ki'ilu soter lo'o shel Shechina. It's as if he hit the Shechina of Hashem. That he hit the Shechina. Someone hits the Jew in the jaw, it's as if he hit Hashem in the jaw. Rabbi Yoda makes this comparison that the jaw, I'm assuming based on the fact that that's where the beard grows, that the beard is the Hadrat Panim, is the beauty of the face. It's the Tzelem Elokim, it's the image of God. So if a person hits in the jaw, right, it's as if he hits God in the face, Haz Shalom, in the Shekhinah. Shne'emar, Mokesh Adam, Yala Kodesh. And we're going to read it as Mokesh Adam, you hit someone. Yala Kodesh means Lo'a Kodesh, the jaw of the Kodesh. You hit somebody, it's as if you hit the Shekhinah. We know that the Torah is only nikna with simanim, so the Gemara now gives us a siman that it's going to be the next few cases. Magbia, Avdo, Shabbat, Siman. 3 simanim. One of them is called Magbia, something that gets lifted up. Avdo, like a servant. And Shabbat, we're going to see each case. Amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said, Hamagbia yado al havero. If one raises his hand against his fellow, if someone is picking up his hand in order to hurt someone, right? Hamagbia yado al havero. Even though he just has his hand raised to hit somebody, he hasn't yet hit him. Nikra Rasha, he is called a Rasha. Shne'emar. And Moshe Rabbeinu saw the two Jews fighting. He saw one of them picking up his hand to hit the other one. And he says, and he said to the Rasha, Lama takere'echa. Why are you going to hit your friend? Lama hikita lo ne'emar. It doesn't say, why did you hit? It doesn't say, why did you hit? Rather, it says, why will you hit? And it calls him a Rasha. So from here we see that as long as you pick up your hand, call already Rasha. Lama hikita lo ne'emar. El lama takeh. Alabisha lo hikau. Nikra Rasha. even though he didn't yet hit him, he is called irasha. Someone hitting someone is a big form of rishut. It's a big form of evilness. Who are you to touch someone else? To give him a hit? Ah, Ziri Amar Bihanina. Ziri said in the name of Bihanina. Nikra Hote is called a sinner. Someone who hits somebody is called a sinner. Shneemar. V'imlo lakachti behoska. We had Eli HaKohen. He was a Kohen Gadol. He had two children, not such good people. Eli, Chofni and Pinchas. And they would strong-handedly take from people portions of the korban that they wanted to eat. They forced it. They said, either give it to us or we're going to take it by force. And they did that. So they're like someone who's hitting somebody. They're forcing someone to do what they want by coercing them by force. And it says it by them, and their sin was very great. So you see, someone who forces someone via violence or threats, it's considered a big time sinner. Rav Huna Amar, tikatetz yado. Someone who hits somebody, his hand should be cut off. Shneimar, uzro'a rama tishaber. And a raised arm shall be broken. You have to break their hands if they're going to keep hitting people. They're a menace to society. You have to break their hands. In fact, there was a story of Rav Huna, Katyada. Rav Huna had in his community somebody who was hitting people. They warned him, they told him. He didn't listen. So they ended up cutting off his hand, even though this is not a normal Torah punishment that's meted out to people. But at such a time, Mishas Chag, that they had to make a stop to this guy, they do have permission, like we saw early on in the Masachet, to do sometimes punishment a little bit out of whack, well, not normally, in order to stop a certain trend. And so they applied this here, and they killed it, and they took off this guy's hands. Rabbi Elazar Omer, Ein lo tekana ela kvura. Someone who hits people, he has no tekana. He has nothing that's going to help him out. Ela kvura, only kvura. He has to get killed and buried. Then he'll have a takana. Shneimag, as it says, ve'ish zro'a lo ha'aretz. And the man who uses his arms to hit people, his hands, lo ha'aretz. To him is the earth, meaning that gives him takana. That gives him the fix, is once he goes into the ground. Va'amar Rabbi Elazar. Now he's going to learn this pasuk ve'izra lo ha'aretz in its simple explanation, not just as someone who hits, rather ve'ish zro'ah. Rabbi Elazar, lo nitna karka ela leva'ale zro'ot. You can't have land ownership unless you're a strong person. You got to have a strong personality. You got to be strong if you're owning land. Shenemar ve'ish zro'ah lo ha'aretz. So the strong man is the land. The way Mepharshim explain it, to have a landowner, whether it be a field and trying to plant things, you got to keep out animals, you got to keep out bugs, you got to make sure people don't steal. The same thing with owning property. You have to make sure that you have maintenance, you have good tenants, you have to make sure you get the rent on time. Yeah, there's a lot of things you have to get done, and it's not easy for everyone to do it. You have to be a man of a certain strength to be able to do it. Okay, so that was the first one, Magbia, raising the hand. Second siman, was Avdo. So Amar Reish Lakish, Mai Dichtim Oved Admato Isabah Lachim. What does it mean? A man who works the ground will eat bread. Im Ose Adamato Ke'eved La'adama Yisba Lechem. V'im Lav Lo Yisba Lechem. If a man who has a wheat field and he dedicates his time and energy and spends time doing it, he'll have what to eat and he'll be full from what he eats. But if he doesn't, then he won't have his bread. The Meiri learns this as a mashal for the Torah. Someone who gives his full effort in Torah study, will be successful. Someone who doesn't will not be. Similar to parnasa, you know that Torah is parnasa, is a person's bread, person's water. So in order to do it, you have to put in full effort. Va'amar Ish Lakish, Ove Kochavim, Sheshavat Hayav Mitah. A guy who keeps Shabbat is Hayav Mitah. Okay, what does this mean? Why would we even think this? He wants to not work one day. What's the big deal? Shne'ema, because it says, "Vayom v'alayla lo yishbotu," says Rish Lakish. What's this pasuk? Look at the Torah Shalom, the last one on the page. Hashem is telling Noach, no longer bring a marvel. Everything will stay. The seasons will stay. Day and night will stay. Everything will stay the same. And it says, Yom v'layla lo yishbot. Day and night will never take a break, meaning it will always be day and night. Rish Lakish learns this as a drasha. And he says, day and night, no rest. That means a guy has to work day and night. They can't take a rest. If they take a rest, hayav mitah. Shne'emar v'yom v'layla lo yishbotu. And Rish Lakish said, and the warning for them is already their death. And the warning is they shouldn't take a break. And if they take a break, hayav mitah. That's Rish Lakish. So the idea is not that they're keeping Shabbat, not lighting a fire and whatnot, but rather that they're having a day of rest. The way Rashi learns it. Rashi learning it, the answer for the guy is to take a break from work. He has to work day and night. Obviously, if he needs to sleep in order to work more, that's assumed being okay. But he cannot have an official day of rest. V'amar Ravina, and based on this, Ravina says, Afilu sheni b'Shabbat. Even if he decides to make his day of rest Monday, like a lot of barbers do in the Gayish world, they make Monday their day of rest. They don't go to work on Monday. So according to the Gemara, according to Rashi, when we're understanding Rashi, Ravina is saying that even if they take a break on Monday from work, Hayamita. Now, we're going to have to understand a few things here. First of all, what's going on? The guy wants to keep Shabbat. What is this, the end of the world? The guy wants to keep Shabbat, and we're making a whole issue over here. So the Rambam has a different issue here. The Rambam says, the Isner Leveinoach Hulechad Shabbat Amod Atzmo. He's making up his own Shabbat. He's making up his own Moed, making up his own holiday. And the Goyim don't have a right to make up holidays and Shabbats. And so that's the Isser. They're making up their own religion. And therefore, you have to kill them. Now, the Midrash says an interesting idea. The Midrash says the Shabbat was given to the Jews. And it's like a king and a queen. Hashem is the king, and the Jews are the queen, or whichever way you want to see it. And we're spending time together, and someone who's not part of the group comes inside. Someone comes inside and starts bothering the king and the queen. So if we keep Shabbat, like that, and the guy keeps Shabbat, this is interrupting the king and the queen. It's Hayamita. Interestingly, the Hatam Sofer says that in this world, Hashem has to send down blessings to keep it alive, to keep it going. And the way it goes for Goyim is that they get the blessings when they're working. And when they're not working, then the blessings don't come. And in fact, they're going to be hayab to. It's going to be like to destroy the world. Like I say, if you don't learn Torah, the world gets destroyed. But the goyim, if they don't work, they're literally destroying the world. And it's possibly, by the way, very true, because every time they have a break, right, the weekends and stuff like that, so that's when all the riots and protests and all these other crazy things that go on in society usually happen when it's COVID or when there's a holiday, when there's a big weekend, and they have nothing to do, so they get into trouble. So maybe you can look at it that way also. So Pam always looked at it. But the Jew, some Sefer says, his shefa can come to him also when he's resting, when Hashem commands him to rest. Right? Something that a guy doesn't have. He doesn't get the blessings when he's resting. He gets the blessings only when he is working. Okay? So interestingly enough, That is the way Rashi understands it. If the guy takes a break from working, he is Hayav Mitah. Let's just take a look in the Rambam inside. And he says over here, okay, Ben Noach, Shabbat or Shekayim Mitzvot. Akum, Shabbat Nefil B'Yom Mimoy Sachol. If a guy decides to take a Shabbat on a weekday, if he makes it like a Shabbat, it means he makes it like a real day of rest. Hayav Mitah. And I don't have to say, even if he makes it a holiday, makes it like official, Hayav Mitah. They cannot make up their own mitzvot. Therefore, he cannot make his own Shabbat. Therefore, all the goyim are making Sunday a Shabbat for themselves, an official day of rest. Hayav Mitah, according to this Rambam. Either he becomes a real ger and he keeps all the mitzvot, or he keeps Shemitz B'nai Noach and he doesn't do any more than he less. If he's trying to keep the Torah, trying to keep Shabbat, or he's making up his own things, we protest against him, we punish him, and we tell him he's Hayav Mitah, but we don't kill him. Right? And that's the Rambam again and again. And in all these cases, he's Hayav Mitah, but B'dei Shemayim, we can't do anything about it. We can punish him, we can protest against him, but we can't actually kill him for that. Okay, so interesting Rambam. Let's move on. The Gemara says this is the case that if a guy keeps Shabbat Hayav Mitah, Sheva Mitzvot, so then let it bring it down as part of the list of the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach. You gave me 7 mitzvot, and now you're telling me you can't keep Shabbat, so put it on the list. The Gemara says, when he brings the list of Shemitz B'nai Noach, all those lists is a Sheva al Ta'aseh. Don't kill. Sit down and don't kill. Sit down and don't steal. Sit down and don't do it with the zar. It's a Sheva al Ta'aseh. Sit and don't do. None of them is a Kum V'aseh. And this thing is a mitzvah of Kum V'aseh for the Goyim. To always be working is a Kum V'aseh. Get up and do it. Get up and work. Therefore, it's not on the list. Because the list of Shemitz B'nai Noach is only those that are don't do. This mitzvah, that they shouldn't take a rest, is a do. Get up and work. Therefore, it's not on the list. So the Gemara says, very nice, but v'hadinan kum asehu. But to make court, that's a kum v'aseh. Get up and make a court. So what are you going to say there now? Kum v'aseh. V'hadinan kum asehu. It's get up and make a court. The Gemara says, kum aseh v'shev al ta'aseh ninhu. It's actually both. Making a court is 2 things. Why you need a court? Making a court in order to conduct justice, and that is a kum v'aseh, a positive, get up and do it. At the same time, it's a sheva al ta'aseh, sit down, don't do it, which is sit down and don't pervert justice. Don't let justice be manipulated. So the judge really has two jobs. He has a job to put the justice, and he has a job to prevent injustice. And so it's a sheva al ta'aseh gamkein. And therefore, even though it has a kum aseh properties, it also has sheva al ta'aseh property, and therefore it can stay on the list. And obviously, just to remind, there's the famous machlokes, Rambam and the Ramban of what is dinan. Right? According to the Rambam, more narrow approach is that you need a bet in to make sure that they're doing the other 6 mitzvot. And according to the Ramban, dinan doesn't just mean a court to make sure they're keeping the 6 mitzvot, but rather a court to develop further laws, such as tort laws and property laws and this laws and that laws, this way to make a functioning society. And in both cases, you have both Sheva al Ta'aseh and Kum V'aseh. You have Kum V'aseh, get up and make laws. Sheva al Ta'aseh, sit down and don't pervert those laws. Don't go against those laws, right? Go ahead and make a court and make sure not to invert justice. So it has both properties. Okay, and that's why it's on the list. Now, another law. Amar Rabbi Yohanan, Ove Kochavim, She'osek b'Torah hayav mita. In Ove Kochavim, a guy who learns Torah is hayav mita. Again, machloket Rambam and the Ran. Rambam, kill him tired. You kill him. You don't kill him. Rambam, you don't kill him. It's Misa B'dei Shemayim. You tell him you're doing is wrong. You can punish him, but you don't actually kill him. Whereas the Ran, it would say, as he said before, that it is actually he would actually get killed for it. Okay, now let's see, where are we learning this from? Because it says Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha, lanu morasha. It's for us an inheritance, v'lo and not for them. The Gemara says, but let it be counted on the Shevet Bnei Noach. A guy is not allowed to learn Torah. The Shevet Al Taseh, sit and don't learn. So why is it not on the list? So the Gemara says it's already mentioned. How? Manda ama morasha. One who says it is an inheritance, who understands the word morasha to mean inheritance. What is that? What do you do? Migzal ka gazilla. He's stealing it. Right? It's inheritance. I mean, this is my property. It belongs to me. And now the guy's learning it something that doesn't belong to him. So he's stealing it, in a sense. The Yavitz asks, how can anyone steal Torah? If you open up and read the book, and the other guy opens up and read the book, he didn't steal the learning from me. He read it, and I read it. There's no stealing when it comes to Torah. Everyone can read the book. So the Yavitz says the stealing is Hidushei Torah. The guy learns Torah, and while he's learning the Torah, he comes up with Hidushim. He only can be Mahadish something once. It's only a Hidush one time. Afterwards, it's already become known. So he can steal the Hidushim of Torah by learning Torah. So therefore, it's stealing from the Yerusha, from the inheritance of the Jewish people. Manda Amma Morasa, the one who says, you call Torah Tzivulanu Moshe Morasha, change the shin for a sin, and it becomes Morasa. Morasa comes to the Lashon of Erusin, which means engagement. That we are engaged to the Torah. Manda Amar Morasa. Interestingly, we call ourselves engaged to the Torah. Every day we put on the tefillin. When we put on the tefillin, we make the round around the finger. And we say, one of the things that we say, Va'arastich li le'olam. And Va'arastich li le'olam could also be understood as I'll be engaged to you forever. We're saying, Hashem, I'll be engaged to you forever. We talk about the Torah, we talk about being in an engaged with the Torah. Not married. Why we say engaged and not married? So the Mefarshim explain, interestingly enough, that when a person is engaged, he's more excited. He's more appropriate. He's more careful to do the right things. Unfortunately, a lot of times when the person gets married, the masks drop. He's not trying anymore. He's not trying hard anymore. And the excitement starts to dissipate, right? Which is natural. You just have to work on it. But it's the same idea. So we're saying we're engaged to the Torah. We're engaged to Hashem because that's when it's more of an exciting period. So now, if the Torah and us are in an engagement, then if this guy comes and learns the Torah, it's as if he's having relations with a betrothed girl, and be hayav skila. So therefore, we see that if a guy learns Torah, he is hayav mita. Now the Gemara says, Meitvei, they challenge this from a Braita. What's the challenge? Hayar Rabbi Meir Omer. There was the great Rabbi Meir, and he said, Menayin, how do you know? Shafilo ove kochavim ve'osek b'Torah shehu kechohen gadol. That if a guy learns Torah, he is like a kohen gadol. Where do we know that from? What? Rabbi Meir is saying that If a guy learns Torah, it's as if he's a Kohen Gadol. We were just saying he's Hayam Mitah, and Rameir is on the totally other side of the spectrum saying he's a Kohen Gadol. And he proves it to you. Shneimar, it says, Asher Yaseh Otam Ha'adam V'Hai Bahem. Kohanim Levim Yisrael Lo Ne'emar. It doesn't say Kohen Levi Yisrael. It says Ela Ha'adam. It says the person. That if a guy learns Torah, he's like a Kohen Gadol. First of all, it's fascinating to even think of that. But that's what he says. Now, Tosafot asks the question and says that we have a Gemara in Yevamot that says the word Adam means Jewish people. How can it be over here we're saying Adam means even Goyim? So Tosafot says there's a difference between the word Adam and Ha-Adam. When it says Adam without the Hey, that means the Jew. But when it says Ha-Adam, it can mean even Goyim. Ela Adam, even Goyim. Hamada Shafil Ukachamim. Ve'osek b'Torah, Arehu kechohen gadol. If there is a guy who learns Torah, he's like a Kohen Gadol. So how could it be? How could it be in one case? You're telling me if a guy learns Torah, he's Hayam Mitah. And you're telling me if a guy learns Torah, he did the mitzvah. Kohen Gadol he becomes. How could this be? More answers. Atam b'sheva mitzvot didihu. Because when you're saying that he's like a Kohen Gadol, then he's learning the Sheva mitzvahs of his own, meaning he's learning the Torah for his own mitzvot, stuff that is applicable to him. He's not learning stuff that are not applicable to him. So therefore, he's like a Kohen Gadol in the mitzvot that he's allowed to learn. That's the way the Rambam paskins. Rambam says, Shevas b'nei Noach, they're learning that, fine. If they're learning other stuff, asur, hayam mitah b'dei shamayim. There are other Rishonim that argue with this and say that a guy learning Torah, even if it's more than Sheva Mitzvah B'nai Noach, like a lot of times Sheva B'nai Noach is related to Israelite mitzvot also, so maybe they want to learn a little more, they want to understand it more, they're learning a little bit more in depth, and he says that's all permissible, as long as they're not doing it for the wrong reasons. As long as they're not doing it for the wrong reasons, so you can learn with them Mishnayot or whatever like that, as long as you're not learning it for the wrong reasons.
Does it have specific topics that they need to cover? Because based on the last statement, it means everything, no?
So if you take a look at note 10, he says over here, he explains that Yochanan refers to an Adayim who learns the precepts of Torah and the Talmud in order to mislead Israelites. That's when the Isser is. When they're learning it to go the wrong way, like the missionaries. Right? A lot of the missionaries, they learn Isaiah, right, Navi Yeshayahu, and they translate the words completely wrong, and they're trying to teach people that Yeshu, right, the Yoshka was a god, and that is the Isser, he says, the Meiri. Therefore, he's fit to be punished for studying Torah. However, if the Noahide studies the 7 commandments that apply to him, he should be honored like a Kohen Gadol, even if his investigations lead him to study most of the precepts of the Torah. Since his main purpose is studying the knowledge of the Noahide laws, there is no concern that he will influence Israelites. So according to the Meiri, it's not just the Meiri, there are others also that say this. The Goyim could learn Torah as long as they're not doing it for the wrong reasons. And seems to be that's what people today nowadays do. Now, if I asked you something about Judaism, you don't have to not answer him. First of all, he can probably Google it and probably find a very in-depth answer just by Googling it. So you can tell him basic stuff. You don't have to explain it in depth. You don't have to start going through all different things. But you have to be careful that these people are not trying to go against Judaism. Then they're not allowed to. But I mean, today with all these shiurim online, met more than one guy that says, I listen to them. I love them. They're really good. There's a lot of nice lectures online. Good rabbis giving good lectures, and they listen to it. So I don't see anybody taking it off. Must be that we don't hold like this Rambam in the end of the day. The Rambam is pretty clear. The Rambam says they can only learn Sheva Mitzvah Noach. Anything past that, they're Hayam Mitah. So I don't see that being the case today in the world. Just to read the Rambam's lashon, akum she'asik b'Torah chayamita lo yasok el b'shem mitzvot shelahem bilvad. They can only learn their 7 mitzvot and nothing more. He seems to be saying. Yep. I don't know. I don't see it being followed by most of the world today. Anyway, and people also say we don't really know if they're not Jewish. I've heard this one. They say, oh, maybe there's some people that are really Jewish and just don't know it. So we're teaching everyone. I don't know. It seems if you go with the Meiri's approach, it's a lot easier. As long as you know the guy's not trying to use it for the wrong purposes, then he's allowed to be learning it. I think that's what most people probably go with nowadays anyway. All right. Let's finish up one last section, and that will be it for today. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Omer. Av hadam min achai. On the Shevet of Noach, one of them was Aver min achai. You're not allowed to eat a limb from a live animal. We already explained why would someone want to eat a limb from a live animal, and we already explained it because what? There was no refrigeration. So how do you keep meat fresh? If you're going to shecht an animal or eat an animal now, right, you have to eat the meat pretty quickly, otherwise it's going to spoil. So if you didn't kill the animal right away, you just chop off his leg, you make out of it food, you leave him alive. So his blood circulates, he's still alive, the rest of his meat stays fresh. And then you chop off the next leg, or whatever it is, chop, 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 until you're ready to finish it in the last pieces, then you kill him. Right? So Torah doesn't let that. So it says, Avraham and Achai, that's us. He says, not only the limb from a live animal, but also blood from a live animal. You're not allowed to drink blood. A guy's not allowed to drink blood from a live animal. Tanya Rabbanon, Rabbi Stoner Bright. Ach basar ben asho damo lo tochelu. It says in the pasuk, the flesh of his soul, the blood, don't eat. Ze ever min achai. Says the Chamim, this is ever min achai. Rabbi Chamim ben Gamliel Omer, af hadam min achai. Not just as ever min achai, limb from a lion also means blood from a lion. My time, Rabbi Chamim ben Gamliel. What's the reason Rabbi Chamim ben Gamliel? Keribe, he reads as follows. Read the pasuk as it says, basar ben asho lo tochel. Don't eat the basar. And then it says, damo ben asho lo tochel. Don't eat its blood while it's alive. Don't eat the flesh while it's alive. Don't eat the blood while it's alive. That's the way he's learning the pasuk. V'rabanan. But the rabbis, he says this pasuk, the word damo ben asho, is coming to teach us a different din. We're going to see it next week, B'ez Hashem. There's a din, we spoke about it once before, that halachically, the animal and its blood are considered two separate entities. Whereas when it comes to a sheretz, a creeping creature, its blood and the animal itself is considered one entity. And therefore the Chachamim are going to say, the only time you're not allowed to eat Ever min achai, it's when its blood and its flesh are considered two entities. But if it's considered one entity, one piece, the blood and the flesh is one thing, halachically talking, then it will be allowed to eat Ever min achai. So that's what they learn from these extra, seemingly extra words. Now, Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, he says, yeah, you see this by the Goyim, they have this mitzvah of they cannot drink the blood of a live animal. Kayotza bedavar ata omer. You find a similar statement by Jewish law. Because we have in this past week's Parsha, Parshat Re'eh, it says, Rak chazak levilti achol hadam ki adam hu nafesh. Be careful not to eat the blood, but the blood is the soul. And this teaches us that a Jew is not allowed to eat an Ever min achai. But says Rabbi Chanina as follows: Rak chazak levilti achol hadam. When it says rak chazak, that means Ever min achai. Ki hadam hu nafesh. When it says the blood is in the soul, ze dam min hachai. That's the blood of the live animal. So here it comes, and Rechina says you have the same halacha by Jews. is an Ever Menachai, and there's Dam Menachai. That's also Aser. And he's comparing the Isser of blood from a live animal to the Isser of eating Ever Menachai from a live animal. And we know that eating Ever Menachai does not give you karet. So too the Dam would not give you karet, because he's comparing the Dam to the Ever Menachai. The Rabbanan, what do they hold? They say, Ha'ul Adam HaKazat Shanashama Yotzeh Bo Huda'atan. They say, this pasuk that's talking about the blood is telling us that a Jew is only punished for bloodletting of the animal, drinking the blood of a bloodletting animal. It's only when the nefesh comes out with the blood. It's when it comes out very dark. The blood comes out different colors. He's not hayav, only for the dark part. So if you look at the art scroll in note 19, the truth is both of them hold that a Jew cannot drink blood from a live animal. The only thing is how they hold it. So if you take a look at in the back and the end of note 19, from the first paragraph over there, about a couple of lines up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up, it says thus, right after the parentheses. Thus, the rabbis disagree about two issues. According to Chanina, blood taken from a live animal is prohibited under the same laws of a limb of a live animal. Whereas according to the rabbis, it's prohibited under the laws of consuming blood. The Chanina includes all discharges of blood in this prohibition. The rabbis include only blood that contains the soul. So what comes out is how they view the blood. Is it considered every minachai, or is it considered like by korbanot and you get karet, or you don't? And so he brings down that what he was trying to do was show that you have halachot by a goyim and you have similar halachot by Jews, and that's going to the next week we're going to pick up. Next week we're going to pick up on this idea of why the Torah mentions Ever Menachai and other mitzvot by the goyim, and then it goes ahead and mentions it again on Har Sinai. Why couldn't you just say it there? And the Jews who are also B'nai Noach would have to keep those also from before. Why everything had to be repeated in Har Sinai? And this is something that we're going to pick up with Bez Hashem next week. If you have any questions, we'll take them out. Otherwise, we are done for today.